Today, we are unlocking the heavy steel gates of InGen's infamous park to uncover the top 10 wild, verified behind-the-scenes secrets that Hollywood tried to keep buried in the mud. Before we face the raptors in the kitchen, hit that subscribe button and lock into the CinemaDecoded feed so you never miss another cinematic deep dive. Fact 10. The Phantom CGI Revolution. If Steven Spielberg had stuck to his original pre-production plan, the digital dinosaurs we know today wouldn't exist. Spielberg initially hired legendary effects master Phil Tippett to create all the wide-shot dinosaur movements using traditional stop-motion, go-motion animation. Computer-generated imagery was deemed too unproven for a major blockbuster. However, two rogue digital artists from Industrial Light and Magic secretly rendered a photorealistic, fully textured test loop of a digital T-Rex walking through a field. When they secretly showed the footage to Spielberg, his jaw dropped. Phil Tippett leaned over to the director and famously whispered, "I think I'm extinct." Spielberg loved the line so much he put it directly into the movie. The birth of CGI changed cinema forever, but relying on massive, physical practical effects for the close-up shots brought a terrifying, real-world danger right onto the soundstage. Fact 9. The T-Rex Awakening. Special effects wizard Stan Winston built a magnificent, full-scale, 9,000-pound animatronic T-Rex to shoot the iconic main attack sequence. But the machine had a critical vulnerability. It was covered in foam latex skin that acted like a giant sponge under the heavy studio rain machines. As the T-Rex absorbed hundreds of gallons of water, it grew dangerously overweight, causing the hydraulic system to violently shake and stutter. Even worse, the dampness caused the electronics to short-circuit entirely at random. The crew would frequently sit in the dark during lunch breaks only to be terrified out of their seats as the dead, empty machine suddenly shivered, snapped its jaws, and came to life completely on its own. The rogue machine kept the crew on edge, but its unpredictable malfunctions accidentally caused one of the most genuinely terrifying, unscripted accidents in the entire film. Fact 8. Shattered glass real screams. When the animatronic T-Rex bends down to attack the children inside the overturned Ford Explorer, it was never supposed to actually break the glass roof. The giant mechanical beast was programmed to stop a precise few inches short of the plexiglass. But during a high-stakes take, the heavy, waterlogged machine overshot its mark, slamming its massive snout straight through the roof structure. The plexiglass violently shattered inward, just inches from the young actors' faces. The blood-curdling screams of pure terror you hear from Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello in that exact scene weren't acting. They were genuinely convinced they were about to be crushed to death by a multi-ton machine. That terrifying close call grounded the horror of the scene, but the creative genius behind the T-Rex's iconic entrance actually came from a completely unexpected musical source. Fact 7. The Subwoofer Symphony. The iconic ripple in the glass of water that signals the T-Rex's approach is one of the most famous visual hooks in cinema history. Spielberg came up with the idea after listening to the heavy bass of earth, wind, and fire playing in his car, noticing his rearview mirror vibrating. He wanted to recreate the effect using a prop glass of water, but the special effects team spent days failing to make it ripple correctly. Finally, special effects coordinator Michael Lantieri solved the puzzle by running a hidden guitar string directly down through the car dashboard and attaching it to the bottom of the glass. By plucking the guitar string under the car at specific intervals, they achieved the perfect, spine-chilling ripple. While a simple guitar string birthed the film's greatest suspense cue, the sound team had to resort to a bizarre, highly explicit natural phenomenon to give the deadly velociraptors their terrifying voices. Fact 6. The Secret Raptor Passion. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom won 2 Academy Awards for his work on Jurassic Park, creating entirely new animal vocalizations out of thin air. Since dinosaurs had been dead for millions of years, He had to blend completely unrelated modern animal calls to create their roars. To create the chilling, high-pitched barking and hissing sounds the velociraptors used to communicate with one another in the kitchen, Rydstrom recorded a highly unusual source: tortoises mating. He found that the rhythmic, aggressive noises the animals made during passion possessed the exact alien, calculating, and deeply unsettling quality needed to turn the raptors into cinematic icons of terror. The raptor voices were engineered to perfection in a safe studio, but the cast and crew were about to face a real-life force of nature that threatened to wipe the entire production off the face of the earth. Fact 5. Hurricane Iniki's Fury. On the final days of filming on the island of Kauai, the production was violently interrupted by Hurricane Iniki, the most powerful hurricane to strike Hawaii in recorded history. The Category 4 storm completely devastated the island, destroying the outdoor sets and wiping out power lines. Trapped in a hotel ballroom, Spielberg, the crew, and the young actors huddled together in the dark for survival, completely cut off from communication with the mainland. In a heroic display of leadership, actor Richard Attenborough, who played John Hammond, reportedly slept right through the peak of the cataclysmic storm, later waking up and telling the terrified crew that surviving the Blitz in London during World War II made the hurricane feel like a walk in the park. The cast survived the storm unharmed, but the massive destruction forced Spielberg to make a radical, last-minute script change that altered the fate of one major character forever. Fact 4. The script's merciful rewrite. In Michael Crichton's original best-selling novel, John Hammond is not a lovable, eccentric grandfather. He is a cold, deeply arrogant, and greedy corporate tycoon. At the end of the book, he suffers a horrific death, being ambushed and eaten alive by a pack of tiny Procompsognathus. However, Steven Spielberg fell so deeply in love with Richard Attenborough's warm, charismatic performance on set that he couldn't bear to let the character die. Spielberg ordered a massive, last-minute rewrite of the climax, sparing Hammond's life and allowing him to escape the island with his grandchildren, completely shifting the moral tone of the entire ending. Hammond's survival brought emotional closure to the story, but the film's most famously dark, comedic death scene was actually cooked up as a highly personal favor for one specific actor. Fact 3. The Bathroom Bounty. The unforgettable death of the lawyer, Donald Gennaro, who gets eaten alive by the T-Rex while sitting helplessly on a toilet, is one of the most cheered moments in cinema history. Actor Martin Ferrero originally read a script where his character died much earlier in the jungle. Desperate for a more memorable exit, Ferrero personally went to Spielberg and pitched the idea of a cowardly, highly theatrical death on the toilet. Spielberg found the concept so hilarious that he immediately rewrote the sequence. The scene became an instant pop culture phenomenon, turning a minor character's demise into an iconic piece of cinematic history. While audiences laughed at the lawyer's demise, the director himself was entering a dark, grueling emotional landscape, working a double shift that pushed his mind to the absolute brink. Fact 2. The double shift nightmare. Jurassic Park was an exhausting production, but the real nightmare for Steven Spielberg began during post-production. The film had run slightly over schedule, forcing Spielberg to immediately fly to Poland to begin filming his heavy, deeply somber Holocaust masterpiece, Schindler's List ***. Every single night, after spending 12 grueling hours directing devastating, emotionally shattering scenes on the streets of Krakow, Spielberg had to sit in a cold satellite bunker for 3 additional hours, managing long-distance special effects reviews for the action sequences of Jurassic Park. He later stated it was the most psychologically taxing period of his life, causing massive emotional whiplash that nearly broke his spirit. Spielberg pushed through the grueling double shift to complete both masterpieces in the same year, completely unaware that his final action sequence lacked the single ingredient required to make it legendary. Fact 1. The last-minute hero. The spectacular climax where the T-Rex saves the human characters by fighting the velociraptors in the visitor's center was completely absent from the original shooting script. Originally, the movie ended quietly, with the raptors simply getting crushed by the falling dinosaur skeletons. However, as filming progressed, Spielberg realized that the T-Rex was the undisputed star of the film, and leaving her out of the finale would deeply disappoint the audience. He ordered the effects team to construct the massive battle sequence at the 11th hour. That last-minute creative pivot delivered the most iconic, triumphant image of the entire franchise, proving that in Hollywood, the greatest moments are born when you let the monsters take center stage. Jurassic Park didn't just stand the test of time because of its technical achievements. It became an immortal classic because a team of visionary artists pushed through natural disasters, mechanical failures, and impossible schedules to capture true cinematic wonder. They built a world so visceral and real that 30 years later, we still look at the water in our glass and wait for the thud. Which of these prehistoric secrets blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments below. Smash that like button, share this video with your fellow survivors, and subscribe to Cinema Decoded. We will see you on the next deep dive.